right, the ET doesn't take pictures of the, is the domestic related? Yes, it is.
What's up, man? Look at that. He got some Zappin' Roger going on over there, Andrew. What's up, man?
I was just learning your intro. I love your intro, and I was just learning the bass line to it. I thought it was great. I'm going to see if I can play it and then copy it for my my podcast.
Well, go ahead. You're more than welcome. I can send you the sound file if you want, man.
Or would that be a copyright violation if I stole your intro?
No. It's not copyrighted. You're good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
What's up? Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Andrew?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Cold.
Yeah, it's very cold over here.
That sucks. So sorry about that, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for hopping back in. We're going to reschedule that here, I think, for next weekend. Just some obviously you heard the technical difficulties. So we're just going to have a little quick show, hang out tonight, hang out with these amazing people. Thank you for rejoining as well.
Of course.
Forensic, we watched your video
Mhm.
last night, and it was a very, very interesting video. It made you think. Did you check it out by chance, Andrew? Was that something
Yes, I
you wanted?
did. I watched this morning as I was eating breakfast and drinking my third or fourth cup of coffee. I thought it was really interesting.
Speaking of,
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too hard.
That's what I
Keep
wanted
track
to
of
know. I
everything.
wanted to know.
Or to try and even know where to go.
oh gosh, I was like, where am I talking? It's my video that's playing in the background. I'm like, why do I hear myself, but I'm not talking? What the hell?
This is why I'm afraid to do lives.
Oh, yeah, it's just like everything's like all over the place right now. So, is it cool if we watch it? Would you guys want to watch it again and
Yeah.
and let us know what you think? Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and share the channels first. First of all, we got Andrew D.Meyers. Let me share his channel. If you're not sub, definitely go sub.
Thank
Here's
you.
the
Thank
link.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all you do out there. Here's the link for his YouTube channel. And then Forensic Frenzy. Here we go.
Check out her channel. It's really good. It's really
Yes.
good. Good stuff.
Makes you think too. And then there's her link as well. All right, let's check out that video. And you're more than welcome to use that anytime you want, Mr. Myers. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I love your music. I'd like to play it myself. on my
Well,
bass.
I heard you. Oh, you got a bass, really?
Yeah.
Really? We should jam sometime because do you have an acoustic? Do you have an acoustic? at all?
No, this is an electric 8-string Hagstrom bass.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe I'll just play my electric. We gotta do a show together sometime where we hang out and jam on the guitar, man. That'd be cool. Be sweet. All right, let's check out this video here. Forensic Frenzy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Forensic Frenzy's Idaho4 series.
And by the way, if either you want me to pause it at any time, let me know too, and I'll go ahead and do that.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Reddit warrant that was submitted into the iCourt public portal on May 31st of 2023. Nunc pro tunc, now for then, now being that.
By the way, bravo on the pronunciation, okay? Bravo.
Thank you.
That had to take some practice, no?
Not
I would-
much.
No? Okay. I was like, okay,
And
yeah.
It's
May
Latin.
31st for
We
April.
do use nunc pro tunc. We actually do use that theory in the courts.
Oh.
Oh yeah, it's one of the few Latin phrases that still exists. There's not too many. They've gotten rid of most of it, but I'll tell you the story later. My first nunc pro tunc.
Your first what?
My first nunc pro tunc.
All right. Just had to make sure.
So I went back and connected a few dots, and I would like to get your opinion of how you think the connected dots translates. What do you think the dots I've connected could mean? Now, according to Cornell Law School Legal Information Institute, nunc pro tunc is Latin, meaning now for then. So now, in our case, will be March 31st of 2023. Again, for then, April 20th of 2023. So, according to the Legal Information Institute at Cornell, nunc pro tunc is intended to make corrective action to the judicial record or set the record straight. It's intended to remedy things like clerical issues, to clear errors, to prevent injustice, and overall more clearly reflect the intention of the court. Therefore, when the document is submitted, it is treated as if it had been submitted when it should have been, dated for the original date of its submission. So based upon the statements that we have from law enforcement pertaining to the probable cause affidavit, both Corporal Payne and Sergeant Blaker stated in their affidavit statement that they knew at some point before the probable cause affidavit was turned over and an arrest warrant was signed by a judge for the current defendant, that they knew that he had posted this Reddit survey looking for participants to provide information as to how to understand emotions and psychological traits and decision making whilst committing a crime. So, what else do we know about this Reddit survey? Or what else do we know about the survey warrant? Well, what we do know is that 20 days post extradition, a warrant was obtained for Bryan Kohberger's Reddit account. That warrant was served the very next day on January 26th. And then the information requested pertained from June 1st of 2022 through the present day, the day that the warrant was served, January 26th. So, about a week and some days later, Reddit was able to email law enforcement back. They had a link in the email for them to obtain the requested information. This was on February 8th. This email would not be opened and downloaded for over a month. And on March 22nd, something prompted law enforcement to open that email and download its information. The very next day, this affidavit, as well as the return of search warrant, was submitted by Lawrence Mowry to Judge Megan Marshall. So they wanted all of the information from Bryan Kohberger's Reddit account from June 1st of 2022 through the present, which at the time actually would have been the day that the warrant was served, January 26th, 2023. Those of you who are really good with dates might remember March 23rd of 2023. I do. So despite the fact that the photo is a little dark, I will present to you what I have from March 22nd of 2023. So, on March 22nd of 2023, Richard Battanti, the private investigator for the defense, submitted an affidavit in support of motion for out-of-state service to bring Bethany Funk back from Nevada to Idaho and make her testify at the preliminary hearing, stating that Bethany Funk may have had exculpatory evidence. However, Richard Battanti did state that portions of Miss Funk's statements to police may have been exculpatory for the defendant. And I believe that the reason why this was redacted and taken out of the iCourt portal is because this needed to be corrected. So, I also believe that on the 22nd, what prompted law enforcement to download the Reddit return was this. However, 2 days later, we received another document. That was interesting. The notice of Brady from the prosecution. Which is interesting because rather it does or does not have anything to do with that Reddit warrant, the police had just been sitting on that and hadn't even opened it for over 5 weeks. So to keep this short, I wonder if on March 22nd, when Richard Battanti made those bold statements about Bethany Funk having material information that could potentially exculpate the defendant, if maybe they thought that her statements had been a way of changing the narrative, of creating reasonable doubt. I wonder if the prosecution had already known about something that tied back to Bethany's statements. I wonder if they knew and maybe So did Anne. That Dylan saw one person, but Bethany saw another. And the prosecution and law enforcement knew on March 22nd exactly where to go to show her that Bethany Funk's information was not exculpatory. Reddit. I wonder if the person that Bethany Funk indicated was in the home is someone law enforcement believes came from this Reddit survey. So tell me, looking at the dots, how do you put the story together? How do these things all relate? As always, let me
So I just
All
wanted
right,
to
there
give
we
my viewers a chance to actually see that and maybe get a response as to when someone like Andrew puts the pieces together, and then hearing someone like you put the pieces together, CJ, someone else who does YouTube like I do, but you're not me, so you have no reason to feel the same way. How do you guys put the pieces together, and what do they tell you? Do you bring the pieces together based upon dates the way that I have? Or do you think that these things will come together some way else in the trial?
Well, it's interesting that the Reddit information came in February, but apparently they didn't look at it until March. And then are we to think that it's a coincidence that the Batanti affidavit came out and the notice of the Brady information came out all at the same time? Are we to believe that all of that is a coincidence, really? I mean, what could possibly have been in the Reddit? Whose Reddit account were they looking for? Koberger's?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So they were looking for Koberger's Reddit account, and that came in. And at the same time, Batanti's affidavit was filed, and he said that there was some potentially exculpatory information. Do we have any inkling as to what all that stuff, what that is?
We don't. We just know that Bethany Funk allegedly saw and heard things within the 8 hours that the 911 call was not made.
Yeah. And no, how could that possibly be a coincidence? Because the case just sits there for long periods of time, where the police do nothing, MPD does nothing, and so for all that to happen at the same time, I don't know what to make of it. There's something I've said all along, that there's something much more going on in this case than we know about in the probable cause affidavit. But what it is, I don't know. Wow.
That's why they wanted to talk to her so bad until they swept in with the secret grand jury. They were willing to go down south and talk to her.
Right.
Just for that very reason. So what is it?
That's a great presentation, Forensic. That's a fantastic presentation. I wish. I know. I don't buy at all that it was a coincidence, if that's what you're asking me.
Okay.
I don't know when you dropped that, yesterday, and what kind of response have you gotten?
So far, a lot of people are, they're really positive about it. They think that I may have connected the dots properly. I mean, of course, we always get those few people that are like, are you insane? But no, for the most part, I'm getting nothing but positive feedback about that. I don't have, other than my fiance. And I mean, I feel like he would agree with just about anything I said. I mean, I know he says he won't, but I feel like he would. But anyway, so I can talk to him about these things, but I don't really, get to have someone's professional opinion before I put the video out there. I just take the risk. But I did see the dots, aligning, and I said, what a coincidence. So I don't believe in it,
No, I don't believe it's coincidence either. It can't be. I mean, because, things just sit for a long period of time. For example, I was just going over the probable cause affidavit in preparation for the other show we were talking about doing, and they were on to the Hyundai Elantra, and they were on to the license of BK back in mid-November of 2022, but they didn't act on it until a month later. So things just sit. They just, I don't know if they're too busy, getting cats down out of a tree or what it is, but things just sit. So no, there's no way it's a coincidence that all that happened at the same time.
Mr. Myers, it's the
Super.
shit that sits on the wall that doesn't fall down. It's all that shit that gets thrown at the wall, and what sits on the wall is what they want to piece together. Unfortunately, I mean, that's what it seems like to me, anyway. What do you think? This is the biggest question when it comes to BF's quote exculpatory evidence that Batanti claims she has. What do you guys think it is? Do you think it's somebody else? Do you think it's a different gender? Do you think it's a different time?
So I do wonder if one person did this by themselves. And because of that, I wonder if Bethany's exculpatory evidence leads to there having been another person in the house, possibly even, like within seconds of Dylan seeing someone go out the back door, Bethany is actually seeing someone still inside the home or exiting out the front door, something like that. I'm wondering if, in order for there to be no evidence in the vehicle, if there was some kind of a cleanup, and maybe if these people cleaned up on more than one floor, and maybe that's how Bethany was able to see anything at all or hear anything at all. Because like here is one thing, but I think it's kind of weird that Bethany also saw something. Like as far as we know, Bethany hadn't gone up the stairs, and as far as we know, according to Kaylee's dad, they didn't go downstairs. That's why he said they didn't have to go upstairs. So clearly, you know what I mean? I just wonder if maybe there was actually someone downstairs and she did actually see someone. And obviously, I wonder if the person because they would have, I believe, been presented in like an ID parade, like a lineup of some sort to the girls. And I wonder if maybe Bethany just either A, was not able to identify Brian at all, like he was in the lineup and she could not identify him, because I guess that could be exculpatory, or if she just was able to identify the other person that they thought was involved.
Well, how would Bethany have seen Koberger on the second floor and the third floor, and then going out the back of the second floor when Bethany's bedroom was down on the first floor?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think
Bethany's.
I think she saw someone else out the front, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was agreeing with you. Bethany's down on the first floor, and how could she have seen Koberger, who's on the third floor and the second floor? She's on the first floor. So I have never believed that this crime and the gruesome detail, the little that we know, was committed by one person. I've never bought that. Yes, it's speculation, but it makes no sense. So if she saw someone on the first floor, that means there are, in fact, two people. The other really troubling thing to me, there's her bedroom there on the left-hand side.
Look at the blinds. One of them stuck open. That's where I think she saw somebody walk past the window. That's where I think she saw somebody. Because that blind right there, those blinds, they're hanging if you have them.
Yeah, they're the turnstile blinds.
And they turn, right? If it's separated like that, it means somebody forced it like that and it got stuck. And so I think that's where she probably saw. I think it might have been another gender is what she saw that doesn't line up with the one person, male, athletic, regular build person.
Well, does it have to be somebody of another gender? Just another guy. I mean, I've always had trouble. Go ahead.
But then they could say that they had an idea where the person left, because then there would be a witness statement saying they saw the male walk in front of the window. It would fit. You could say it was a a 6'2", and it wouldn't match up with Bethany's 5'10", but they could still put it together like they saw the male walk outside in front. That's why I think it's a different gender, because they would have pieced that with the witness statement, a DM, I feel, if it was a male. Because they never stated, they always claim they didn't know how the person left. So if you have a male that's walking in front of those windows, well, then you can claim as LE that the person walked away.
Well, it's all speculation, but the way they have it out in the affidavit just makes no sense. I've been troubled by the fact that Bethany Funk has been made out to us, and I don't know if it's true, but it's been made out to us as though she really did not want to cooperate. She did not want to come up for the preliminary hearing. She really didn't want to cooperate. She hired an attorney to do everything she could to keep from having to come up. If you're I mean, I don't know, but don't tell me that I don't understand. Okay, please. I've had enough of that. If your friends, if your roommates were the subject of a horrible, violent crime and you knew something, wouldn't you be dying to tell the world what happened? I saw the dirtbag walk out the front. He had blood all over him, or he was what was the business about a naked man? Was that just something that came out in the newspaper? I mean, she saw something that doesn't line up with the affidavit. And why is she so troubled about cooperating?
So that was the rumor about what she saw. I don't know what she allegedly heard, but that is the rumor about what she saw. However, although that doesn't line up with the affidavit, if it's true that there's no evidence in the vehicle, it does line up with that.
Yeah.
So maybe she did see a naked. I mean, I'm not saying that she did. I don't know if I believe that, and I've said that time and time again, but maybe she did see a naked man, because it does align with they have, stripped out of what would be the dirty and put on new clothes, or attempted to, got caught, and then ran out the door, I guess. Could be. There is a bathroom on her level, possibly. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. She could have seen a naked man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't gotten to her.
It was 8 hours.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't gotten to her, because there are enterprising journalists. There are really aggressive people. I used to be a journalist a long time ago, and other people were always beating me to stories because they were so aggressive and they knew how to work things. They hung out in bars, and people talk. One person will tell somebody else,
especially a bartender.
Yes.
Big time.
So, I mean, why is she, is she in Nevada or California? I've heard both. And why isn't somebody getting stuff out of her? I just don't get it.
She's getting married too.
I do believe that she went to a new school. Maybe her new school is in California, but the last that I knew, she was in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Makes no sense.
Maybe she doesn't. Who knows? I mean, she's lawyered up no matter what. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the family has some kind of protective web around her, and I don't know. Maybe she don't go out nowhere or something. I mean, you're right though. But at the same time, Dylan too. Or anybody else, even for that matter. Because hell, Ann Taylor,
there were kids that were there that morning.
Less than 10%. Too. Yeah, less than 10% are even talking to her. They're slamming their doors on her because they don't want to be the person, that. Who knows what's the truth is in the streets. They know, they know what the hell, what took place, why it took 8 hours. It is crazy how none of it has come out.
Well, what do you make of this whole thing about? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's a YouTuber that has had people on that some say are verified, some say are not verified. That people around town in Moscow knew exactly what was going on at 9 o'clock in the morning. There was the one guy that usually gets up to go to work, and he got up, and people were talking on TikTok. I think it was people were talking on TikTok that something had gone down at this house. Everybody knew the house. It was a drug house. Excuse me, I'm sorry, a party house. I'm sorry. It was a local drug house, and everybody knew it. Everybody hung. Oh, come on, let's be real.
He did it on purpose, everybody.
It's a drug house. It's a college town. College kids do drugs. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. It's where kids, where the DoorDash, where the Lyft and the Uber drivers took people to go buy their drugs. Come on, let's be real. Let's be real. That had something to do. But what do you make of the fact that a guy got up at 9 o'clock in the morning and he heard on TikTok that everybody in town, all the kids in town, knew that something had gone down at that house that everybody knew about?
Yeah,
I have something to say. I
Say
have
it.
something to say about that.
Say it.
Okay. I just said I'm like super. I refuse coincidences. So if it's true that at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, people knew, how ironic is it that at 9 o'clock in the morning to 9:30 in the morning, the defendant was allegedly back in the area? So I don't know how people would have known at that time, and he had been like, what a coincidence. Just another coincidence, I guess.
I never thought of that.
His
I never thought of
timing,
that. That's
his
right.
timing is impeccable. Like, he literally, I think he left his house like 1 minute after Maddie Mogan's very first call to Jack D. I think he literally left the actual campus like 1 minute after they stopped calling. The kids would wake up in the morning, obviously find the situation and call friends, and he would show up right on time. Like, I just think it's insane. So I don't know. I don't know how to tie that in, but I do know that the two things, they happened at the same time. I think it's weird.
And then going to Albertsons for some lettuce and shredded cheese, It's like,
Wait a minute! I thought we didn't know what he bought at Albertsons. I thought we didn't know. He
was making tacos,
right? You know what I mean? Vegan tacos, Andrew. Definitely, there's a plan of action that they had to do, man. Like, anytime there's anything on campus, plan of action. Just like the sororities and the frats and all that, plan of action. There's always a plan of action. That's why there's a latent footprint, plan of action. Because somebody accidentally stepped in something and didn't want to get blamed for it, and that's why there's a latent footprint. That's my opinion.
And there's another
plan
thing.
Of action.
There's another thing that just accidentally, it just makes no sense at all to me. It makes no sense. How can it make any sense to any logical, reasonable human being with two brain cells in their brain that there's only one footprint in the whole place? There's only one footprint in the whole place. How can that be?
Yeah, I've said myself. I believe that I believe that there could be a single, like, from a set of footprints, a single footprint consistently. I do believe that, left foot consistently as they go out the house, maybe, but no, not just. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the one footprint. I don't know.
That's what the probable cause affidavit says. The probable cause affidavit says they did the two tests. They did the two tests, and only after the second one with the protein-based substance, only then did they find one footprint. Oh, come on.
Well, there's a trail. No. There had to be like I said, there had to be a trail. Somebody accidentally. No, they don't need to. They don't need to. There had to be a trail. There had to be. And somebody accidentally stepped in it and was like, oh shit, and stepped back. Probably because it was dark, right? Probably because it was dark and they didn't see. And they were looking around and went, oh shit, and stepped in it and had to get it cleaned up before,
I don't follow. I really don't follow, because what they're saying in here is that there was. And it's total rubbish.
It's what they leave out. It's what they leave out.
It's total rubbish.
It leaves it to interpretation.
I have a sort of an answer.
What's that?
And this is coming from the part of me that studied forensics.
Uh-huh.
So I am assuming that what that is indicating, without saying it, could potentially be that there was fluid on the floor, and that in one place someone stepped in the fluid, leaving one footprint.
Whoops. right?
At that point, they would have to have taken off their shoe because they would have realized. But someone would have. I just assume that there's fluid on the floor, and it was obviously cleaned up. But there was fluid on the floor, like a puddle, and someone stepped in that, leaving the footprint in the puddle, and then cleaning up the puddle.
I follow.
I think they
but-
stepped in the trail and then stepped back, and that's where the
Right.
footprint came.
Like, yeah. Yup. Any kind of trail, any kind of small puddle, like
like,
even if it was
whoa,
from their
shit.
own injury, say it was the person, the attacker, or whatever, but in some way something got down there, and I think they stepped in that, and
It's
then
not
maybe
BK's.
realized afterward.
But I listen to you, and I respect your background in forensic science. That's great. But that doesn't explain to me why there is a latent shoe print. There'd
No,
be
I get
footprints
it.
everywhere, all over the place.
No,
Why
I
didn't
get
you
it.
mention that?
Yeah.
I don't
You
get
would
it.
have had the mess, I suppose, first, and
Yeah.
then as what they're saying is that on the way out, this person stepped in that one spot, and in that one spot, that's where they were more or less moving throughout the house theatrically without stepping in the fluid that was on the floor. But in this one spot, they made a mistake. I think that's what law enforcement's trying to imply there. Like, oh, and this was another mistake. There was a mess everywhere and they avoided it, but they stepped in it here.
Mhm.
I have a hard time with that. I'm sorry.
Whoops.
I just have a really hard time. There'd be footprints everywhere. They would be able to detect
Yeah, there
shoe
was.
prints everywhere.
I want to
there was.
believe.
That's what they
I want to
say.
believe
But
that
that's
too.
not what
There
they
was.
say. They say there was a footprint. They don't say
believe-
there
Yeah.
were
No,
footprints everywhere.
Andrew. One
Yeah.
footprint. No.
Yeah.
What we're saying is one footprint separated from all of the other traffic that was involved in the crime taking place. Even
But
though
that's
there's
not what it's-
footprints.
But that's not what it
No,
said.
no. And I totally understand what you're saying. Like, kind of like documentation. If
Yeah.
it's not
They
there,
left
it
it
didn't happen. But
They left it
given
out.
that probable cause affidavit, I actually did read a probable cause affidavit.
Yeah.
It was the Juror Best case that's going on in Idaho right now, in Driggs County. And I just want to say that I read I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's like super detailed. I have a very vivid image of what happened there.
Right.
He attacked with a weapon his pregnant girlfriend or wife. I believe she was legally his wife, and they both deceased to murder charges now. So based on, I know more than that. Like, it's just from reading it. Everybody take a look back and go over it. I want you to see what a probable cause declaration actually looks like. And I did note that from watching another creator, Watts the Obsession. She actually pulled that up when she was doing a response to the interview room. And as soon as I saw some of the words, I was like, this is insane, because this is what we have is not a probable cause affidavit, not
Yeah.
by a long shot. They have
agree.
details in
I
the
agree.
actual probable cause declaration
Yeah.
that indicate that 911, before they even said, hello, 911, what is your emergency in this particular case, that they actually had various moments of conversation that were going on in the background, which indicated what was actually taking place that they later found at the scene. So it was very interesting to read. You guys should all take a look back, because as far as that probable cause affidavit, it is just a statement, and there is so much more that they are not telling us, and it does relate back to the 911 call and all of those things. They should be there,
which
and
we
they're
do not have, in this case. And I used to be a reporter. I've covered a lot of different cases, and it's very unusual. You usually do get the probable cause affidavit when you go to the arraignment at some point, and you usually also get a police report, and you usually also do at some point get the 911 call. In this case, we have not gotten the police report, and we haven't gotten the 911 call, either a transcript or the audio. We haven't gotten any of this. So we have no clue. So I do know what you're talking about, and this is not a typical probable cause affidavit. It's really vague.
It's sloppy.
It's
Like,
very
if you-
sloppy and vague.
If you want to like categorize that PCA, you literally have to like cut pieces from one because it really should
Right.
belong to this paragraph, and it's that way for a reason. It was just
Yeah, and I
thrown
don't
together.
I don't think that they could put Brett Payne on the stand because the timeline is just so unbelievable. The timeline is so unbelievable that he is going to be cross-examined to hell. That timeline can't stand under cross-examination at trial. There's no way
they did it on purpose.
There's no he's going to be cross.
They made him. Yeah, they made him lead investigator on purpose. They made him lead investigator.
On the stand with this. He just can't.
No, because that's why he's 2 years experience. They did it for a reason because he's going to be the scapegoat.
Well, that's sad in a case like this.
Seriously, that's what they're doing.
I hope
did any of them other that had did they have any of those other dudes that had way more experience than Mr. Payne?
Well, I guess maybe they thought he was a sharp, young, new guy that was going to show them all how to do it, and he let them down. I mean, I don't know. I've seen that in other businesses. Some new young guy comes in and he's real sharp, and they trusted him. I mean, I'm speculating. I can't buy that.
Look at the PCA. Look at the PCA. Like,
I'm looking at it.
I look at Andrew, Mr. Myers. Don't you like when you're writing paperwork for court? Don't you like if you're talking about a city and a state? Don't you make sure the city and the state is the correct city in this state?
Of course. Well, of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
When it comes to that level, where you're not even focused on making sure your paperwork is like square.
Yeah.
Well, you're making my point.
How are you,
point.
Dude?
Yeah.
How can you be such a magnificent investigator? I don't see it.
You're making my point for me that if they put Mr. Payne on the stand with this, they're going to cross-examine the hell out of
He's
it.
a scapegoat. He's a scapegoat. They did it for a reason.
But then the whole case goes down because then they have to change the timeline. And then the defense attorney says, wait a minute, you said in this document here that the timeline was 4:06 to 4:20. Now you're saying it's 3:15 to 3:45. Which is it? Are you guys credible at all? I mean, so they're in big trouble in this case, and they know it.
Why isn't Lanier on the PCA? Like, why wasn't Lanier one of the? Fry was out of town. You couldn't get a hold of him on the phone. He was outside of cell phone coverage. Lanier was standing there right out front.
Why aren't a lot of things in the PCA? I mean, there's just, I mean, they're assuming a lot, and
they just needed somebody charged. Stop the avalanche of the university's enrollment going down.
I fear that we're all thinking that Bethany Funk is going to be the linchpin in this case and, be the surprise witness that comes in and ties it all together. What if she moves to Belize or some other country that does not have extradition with the United States?
Don't give her any ideas, Mr. Myers.
I am not the first person to suggest that. That's been suggested by other people.
Okay.
But I mean,
all right, I won't edit that out.
Other people have also said, well, clad in black. That's not how a 20-year-old talks. I didn't talk like that when I was 20. She saw somebody that was clad in black. Dylan did. I mean, really?
When I first came across that, I thought maybe they just got done watching like Game of Thrones or something.
That could be.
I don't know.
That could be.
Because I've never heard of that anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Clad in black is either Blaker or Payne's statement. I just can't figure out which, because
Bushy
unfortunately
eyebrow,
they would be testifying to nearly the same exact story on the stand. So
yeah.
Bushy eyebrows too, same thing. I think the bushy eyebrow comment came.
Well, what are bushy eyebrows? What are bushy eyebrows? I mean, do I have bushy eyebrows? I mean,
Captain Kangaroo? That's bushy eyebrows.
And Walter Cronkite. I mean, if we're going to date ourselves, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Captain that's
how do you even get to bushy eyebrows on Koberger's driver's license photo? Even, I mean, you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
How do you? Because it's not like they're like the hairs. It's not like you got to comb them or something. It's not like it's a unibrow Anthony Davis or, you look at it and you're just like, okay. And how do you know bushy if it's dark and you have a good vibe light sign reflection on your face?
I
How
was
do
just
you
going to
even
say the
know
same
they're
thing.
bushy?
If it's the middle of the night and it's dark, how do you notice bushy eyebrows? I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, he had a mask on that covered his nose and his mouth, so I guess she could see his eyes. But I mean, at night and it's dark, bushy is an adjective and extremely subjective. Thank you, Danny. I was trying to make the same point. Why would a
Michi
perp
girls? She's got yeah. Go ahead.
Why would a perp enter a house with 5 vehicles in front, armed with a single knife, unless he knew where everyone was located at the? Yes.
And holding a sheath too.
Yes.
And about those eyebrows, I feel like there's going to be an issue with not just the fact that like half of his face was covered and all she could see were his eyebrows, but the glimpse was fleeting and he wasn't apprehended until 7 weeks later. So at what point did she identify him? How credible is her identification of him because the glimpse was fleeting? Like, those are things that a court usually takes notice of, that this person she only saw for a brief moment. So you do have to be wary that while she's being honest, and and as honest as she can be, she could potentially be wrong because she only saw this person for a brief second. So just saying about bushy eyebrows, she didn't really see the person that we know of.
Yeah, her identification is not going to stand up to cross-examination. And for how long did you see him? You saw him for less than 20 seconds, and it was dark, and it was night, and you say you never saw him before, and his face was covered with a mask. It could have, somebody with bushy eyebrows could have been, 60% of the male population, couldn't it? A defense attorney is going to have a good time with her.
Well,
So
and think, would either of you want to be on a witness stand if you were in the same position and they used your their suggested questions to you, and then made the PCA the way it was? So then, when you get on the test, when you get up there to testify, all of a sudden you too are blamed, along with Payne, for BK not getting convicted because shit don't line up. I can't imagine. What if they asked, because they weren't talking to anybody, they were lawyered up right away. They have family members that are lawyers, right? They were lawyered up right away. They're not going to say nothing. And when they're sitting there having interviews, who knows what interview it was when it came to these witness statements also that they're using. And who's to say that they didn't say, were they the same height? Were they taller than you? I don't know. Were they shorter than you? I don't know, because you're not wanting to say nothing. And, well, were they your height? I guess. Okay, 5'10" or taller.
Yep.
Suggested questions, trying to get some information. They ain't saying nothing, but then they're like using those statements to put BK there, and then your statements, you're like, well, I wasn't even saying that.
I actually wonder if that's what the conversation may have been between Dylan and the officer who interviewed or interrogated her. And I wonder if when she actually gets a chance to testify, if that's the story she's going to tell, is I just simply said I didn't know who the person was. Like,
Right.
I didn't, everything else that was provided, I agreed to, but it was provided to me to agree with. You know what I mean? Like, maybe her idea will be, I couldn't even really find a way to describe the person that was in front of me, but they were able to help me draw an inference. That's what you're seeing in their statement. That's not what I said.
So they suggested to her what she
Yes.
might say.
That's what I think.
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
think.
Great.
That's what I think. I think that's what they did, and they weren't talking, but they were given, what kind, were the eyebrows, was it cut like Vanilla Ice? Like,
Yep.
like, I don't know, maybe, bushy, bushy eyebrows.
Well, what was he wearing?
Maybe.
And she was like,
Right.
I don't know. It was dark. And they were like, well, was he clad in black? And that's why you couldn't tell. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
she was like, sure, exactly, sure.
Right. Sure.
And Ms. Mortensen, why didn't you sit down with a police artist and do a sketch or a computer likeness? Oh, because I couldn't.
Right. Even if you're
seriously.
putting out like, dude.
Or
seriously,
imagine if she's like,
America's
because they
Most
never
Wanted
asked
put
me
them
to.
out.
Well, Isn't that something that police most certainly should do or do when somebody has seen a criminal
No
or a defendant or a
report.
suspect?
No
What?
But
report,
imagine if
Mr. Myers.
they ask her and she's like, they never asked me to. You
No
know,
Yeah.
like
report.
they
Wouldn't that be
suggested
crazy in
to
trial?
me who they were looking for, and they never asked me to do a sketch. Yeah.
Well,
Wouldn't that be crazy?
there are reports because that's listed in Ann Taylor's list of things that she does have. She says she does have police reports. That's what she said at the hearing. We don't have any police reports. Nobody has any police reports.
Mm-mm.
So what? And the other, getting back to what Dylan Mortensen observed or didn't observe, I don't think we know exactly, but at least with Bethany Funk, we know that she was over at the frat with everybody else at the party. So, she was probably consuming we don't know what. Doesn't that have an effect on her observational abilities? And I don't think we know exactly what Dylan Mortensen was doing all night, do we? But that would certainly affect her observational abilities.
Well, I have a question when it comes to the whole what they state in the PCA when it comes to BF stating that she's seen Ethan and Zaina from approximately 9 p.m. to approximately 1:45 a.m.
Right.
and then knew that they returned home at 1:45 a.m. I've always thought that she seen them the whole night and also walked home with them. Do you think that that's what took place, or what do you think about in the PCA when it comes to that? Because there's been a lot of talk about how they weren't there or how they were doing different things at midnight eating pizza at home. But if you look at the statement, what's worded in the PCA as it's worded from and to, from 9 p.m. to 1:45 a.m.
Yeah, it doesn't say those details that you're looking for. This is bereft of any such details. There's nothing in here about that.
In the PCA?
In the PCA.
Yeah, it's right here. It's on page
4, page 3. Page 3. But the details you're talking about aren't really in here. It says on the evening of November 12, 2022, Chapin and Kernodle are seen by BF at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Pierce Drive from approximately 9 p.m. to 1:45. 9 p.m.
Yeah.
What did I say?
From 9 p.m.
What did I say? Yeah, from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 on November 13th. But it doesn't say who walked with whom or whether it doesn't get into the eating pizza or anything.
Keep reading, though.
BF also estimated that at approximately 1:45 a.m., Chapin and Kernodle returned to the King Road residence. BF also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Kernodle.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. She stated that she's seen Ethan and Zaina from 9 p.m. to 1:45 a.m. and then estimated that they approximately 1:45 a.m. returned to the King Road residence. It's the same exact time. So that's why I think the officer said, well, when did you get home? Well, we just walked across the street. That's how I know what time we got home.
Forensic, why are you shaking your head?
I don't know. I just don't know if I believe that she actually made this statement. I only say that because this is coming from Brett Payne, but the other officer who served his warrant the very next day and presented it to the police and the judge in Washington to do the actual search warrant of his apartment and stuff like that on the 30th. That doesn't have this in there. That actually stops at from approximately 9 p.m. There is no further statement. It doesn't say on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. It just says from approximately 9 p.m. And it also does not, I don't believe it says that she estimates that they got home at 1:45 a.m. But I do know for a fact that it does stop at 9 p.m. So I wonder why the other officer.
Why would Zaina's dad lie? Yeah,
and I kind of wonder why the other officer would apply for the warrant secondary, like the next day, and they not add in the information. But the officer who went and applied for the warrant to arrest Brian, they filled in all the details about Xana and Ethan. They filled in the gaps about Xana and Ethan. Technically, like by seniority, like how long they've been working there, his superior, Dustin Blaker, most certainly did not add any of this stuff in there. There was a few things that he did not put in his statement. Now, their statements are like 99.6% identical, but this is one of the things that he did not put in his statement, and I think it's very strange.
Yeah, because Xana's dad's not going to lie, say, yeah, they were at home eating pizza at midnight. But if you read what it says from 1:45 and then 1:45, well, how do you know if you've seen them from and to at the Sigma Chi event? Then how do you know that you can state, yes, at 1:45 they returned to the King Road residence too? Because you can't, unless you have binoculars, you're probably not going to be able, unless you could really see that far away and see somebody go through the door. Yeah, I've seen them go through the door from at the Sigma Chi house.
She was supposed to be home at 1:45. She was supposed to be home at 1 o'clock. So she wasn't supposed to know where they were from 9 p.m. until 1:45 a.m. either way, because at 1 o'clock in the morning, she was supposed to already be home. So for the last 45 minutes at minimum, Bethany was not supposed to have any idea where they were. And then all of a sudden, she just filled in all these time gaps, but only in the statement of Brett Payne. And mind you that now the two statements seem to be not only slightly different, but they're also Exhibit A, which is a defense exhibit. So what's going on there? There has to be something going on there.
Yeah.
I don't think Bethany ever accounted for the entirety of Xana and Ethan's night.
But according to this, she did, you know? It's going to get torn to shreds.
Yep.
It's going to get ugly.
It's going to get torn to
really
shreds.
Ugly in there.
And these poor girls, you know, who knows? They might have been trying to, you know, I don't know about the 8-hour gap. You know, we don't know anything about what took place. But when it comes to them and their statements, and if this is the kind of stuff that took place, because to me it just doesn't, when you have this level of zoning in on making sure, this is 4 victims that were brutally, unalived, and if this is the kind of effort you give to your paperwork, if this is the kind of effort that you gave to your investigation when it comes to all these different statements and things, just because you were more, it just seems to me like they're more worried about Moscow not falling apart from the enrollment going away, and it just looks like it's all thrown together. When you have somebody that has to, anything that you read in this Exhibit A is somebody leading you here, or somebody telling you about this, or why in the hell are you having to review Nunez's body cam? Why couldn't you just talk to Nunez? And then that's when you realize that there was a dog at the residence. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the kind of effort that you give, what do you think is going to take place in this trial?
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things I was wondering is Nunez's body cam and all the other videos that they took, is that one of the things that she's digging to get and they're not giving it to her? I mean, we don't know. She says there's...
I actually feel like it might be just a part of one of the things, just because I feel like if that's the officer whose body cam they used to verify there was a dog in the house, then that would probably be one of the very first officers in the home. And therefore, I think that she's just looking to find the sheath on the body cam. So, I think that there is something there. I think that there's a reason why they also put in there that they used his body cam. And I think it's because he may have been like literally one of the few people who had a body cam on.
Yeah.
But we don't know. I think you're probably right, but we don't know. We don't know that.
Well, because she keeps, I actually feel like we can kind of make that assumption because she keeps requesting in her discovery requests that body cam footage and the audio and recordings. And they keep saying like, well, as far as they exist, we've turned them over. And if we receive any more, we'll give them to you. But I don't know, because now they're saying, and there's things in your pile of stuff that you just haven't found yet. So I don't know what she has anymore. But if she really doesn't have those things, I think that's what she's looking for in them, is to find the confirmed things that they say were there, the knife sheath and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also when it comes to like when it comes to even the she's talking about photos of the crime scene that don't have timestamps or dates. She doesn't know what day they were taken. And then when you look at the video of the DNA dirty glove, and who says, her partner didn't step in BK's spit at Jack in the Box before they went and showed up at the crime scene. And then the glove that she stepped on that Dawn Daniels didn't, got transferred. And the next thing that's what they were doing inside. They were taking pictures of the crime scene and the evidence. And who's to say she didn't even pick it? They pick it up. When there's different statements about the sheath and how it's positioned. Who's to say that dirty DNA glove didn't pick up the sheath after taking a photo of it, and that's how it was transferred? I mean, there's so many. When Ann Taylor states that she's going through it and going through all the paperwork and everything that she has, and she's still like, the more she reads it, the further away she can see some kind of connection or how they even got to BK. Her whole team.
I'd love to know what kind of a staff that she has, because we know they kind of run it on a shoestring out in Idaho. But I'd love to know the amount of staff that she has, because if I had a file with 51 terabytes of information, I would be hiring people to sit there and go through every frame of it until we got through it all. I mean, you can't just sit and wait. I know it's a monstrous task. It's tons and tons and tons of material, but don't they
That's
pay?
Probably what what they're doing.
Don't they
going
pay a
through
defense? Don't they pay a defense staff, especially in a capital case like this, to work full time, 24/7, 7 days a week to get through it all? I mean, I was
probably
shocked.
What they're doing.
I was shocked to hear that none of it's indexed, because I know it's a totally different thing. But I do civil litigation. I do civil law largely. I've done some criminal defense, but mostly civil law. And there are rules about discovery. And I've dealt with some multi-party cases that have tons and tons and tons and tons of documentation. And if we just throw it on a thumb drive and send it to the other side, they can haul us into court and have the court just, excoriate us. No, it's got to be, if not indexed, it's got to be organized in a manner in which someone can go through it. That's just called sandbagging. To give somebody 51 terabytes of information without some kind of a system. I'm not saying it has to be indexed down to the frame or photo, but without it being organized in some manner that makes some logical sense to someone, that's sandbagging. That's all it is. And the courts that I go to, I'm not licensed in Idaho. I'm only licensed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. But if we did that, we would have our heads handed to us. I mean, there's just no excuse for it. What is it?
That's maybe what they do.
Are you guys saying that you think some of this stuff is in here? Maybe the body cam is in there, and she just hasn't found it yet. Because if that's true, that's crazy.
It could be. I'm sure they did that to her, because the more she's prepared, the less of a chance they have to win the case off of some shit that they just threw together.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I'm sure they have a whole team going through all the footage, trying to find. That's why she's saying the more the whole team goes into it, the the less we see how they got to BK. They probably are looking at all this footage and going, how did you get to BK? You know, they're like going through it over and over trying to see. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, like the prosecution claims they got more than enough, you know, to the families and not to worry. And it's going to be interesting to see how they piece this shit together, because like you said earlier, Forensic, when you even look at PCAs from other cases, you know, it's night and day when it comes to this. And just like this information, we even us going through it and have going through it for over a year, there's, where do you know, you got people putting a vehicle on other vehicles in a video or something, but other than that, like, there's usually something. There's always usually something. And with this, all you can do is ever since the crime happened, why did it take 3 days for a press conference? There's your first question. And then it just kept snowballing questions afterwards.
Why did the first press conference come on the same day as that first entirely redacted document? What happened on November 16th? I can't wait to know. I can't wait to know.
Mm-mm.
They didn't have a press conference for 3 days because they had no clue. They didn't have a clue. They really didn't. They had no idea. Scott Green said it in his book, and CJ, I think you pointed it out. I know I pointed it out when I reviewed the book. Scott Green said that the town was ill prepared for an event like this. They just were totally unprepared for an event like this. I lived in a small college town for a while. I worked at a division related to the college, the university, and it's a small town, and the cops, you know, they were used to drinking complaints. They were used to college kids falling off the second floor. They were used to, you know, college kids' dogs fighting. That's what they're geared up to deal with, and that's what they deal with. So something like this, in the town I was in, this would have totally flustered them. The difference between the state that I'm talking about and Idaho is that they would have immediately cordoned off the scene and brought in the state police immediately, and they have a protocol. The local police's role would have been just to stand there until the state police crime unit got there, and that wasn't done.
No, I think that's why I think one of the first people that walked in that scene screwed something up right off the bat, and they were also involved with with a case prior where they also falsified some information regarding evidence and such. You know, you can look it up and you can see what I'm talking about.
Well, there was a case in Idaho that was reversed because of police corruption. Our friend Harsh over on the other side of the pond has done a couple of good series about that Idaho case that was just totally bungled, and the conviction was reversed, and Harsh did a great couple of episodes about that. And so I haven't touched it because he did such a good job. But yeah, there's a history here.
Yeah. And then when you look at, you know, the history, that's what they do over there. When you look into the history of all the court cases, there's a lot of them. You can look them up. There's minimal evidence. They throw the book at these people hoping for a plea bargain. Most of them take it. And if there's not a conviction, they don't pursue any other leads because they're too 100%, you know, that the person that they charged is the one that committed the crime, even if the jury found them not guilty. It's ridiculous.
There's people out there that are saying that BK might take a plea. I'm saying no, he's not going to take a plea. It's not unusual in cases like this, and I forget the guy's name, the fellow who was accused of putting his 2 daughters in the oil tanks. He took a plea only to keep himself from the death sentence. He took a plea so he would get life and not death. I don't see that happening in this case.
No, not a chance. That's why when you're ready, you have your PA, public defender, stating to a local news station that your client BK, you know, while he was in PA made sure that he wanted it to be noted that he couldn't wait to get back to be exonerated.
To be
Like,
exonerated, right?
right? You know, so I'm sure this is his life. I'm sure he's got all the motivation and he's just making sure he does it the right way. That's why, you know, when people want to like, how could you not say nothing? How could you not claim your innocence? This is your life, and you know, if you got to do it the right way the whole time, and that's part of it. You know, unfortunately, you know, there's plenty of cases where people want to proclaim their innocence, but they can't because it'll actually hurt them in the long run, and it's just you know, the worst part of it is if they were this focused on one person and they really weren't the person that committed these crimes. What an injustice to these victims and the families. Because
Absolutely.
we've seen other cases where Ellie gets so laser focused on one person, one weapon, and then 10 or 15 years later that person might get off, you know, or it gets reversed, and then where's the justice for the victims and the families at
Well,
that
Ann
point?
Taylor did tell me that there were other suspects, one of whom had his DNA surreptitiously taken off the cigarette butt. So they did at least take a look into other people. Now, there were other suspects could be
Oh,
ready to
prosecution, not Ann Taylor. I was talking prosecution.
No, I'm just saying though, but Ann Taylor
Oh.
did tell me that there were other suspects.
You talked to Ann Taylor?
She told me that in that court record.
Oh. I was going to say, you did an interview with Ann Taylor?
No. She did tell us that though. And she specifically worded it as there were other suspects. One, she didn't say how many, but she did say one of whom had their DNA surreptitiously taken off that cigarette butt. So they did at least look at other people. I don't know at what point they were looking at those other people, if they were really interested in Brian. And I don't know at what point they became interested in Brian, if they were really looking at other people. But maybe that's why Ann can't figure out how they got to her client, because you were busy looking at other people. And then all of a sudden, one day, it was just my client.
Mm-hmm. That tip from the FBI.
Well,
just the initial.
Does that explain the month that went by between the time they first identified the Hyundai Elantra and the license that looked like the guy with the bushy eyebrows? Does that explain why there was a month delay between then and the actual arrest of Brian Koberg? Because they were looking for these other people and they actually had leads? Is that why?
He was part of a collective pool of people.
Because even when they saw Brian's car at WSU and they called it in, and they're like, well, we got this license plate and the guy's got bushy eyebrows, whichever officer from MPD was interested in that. They only put out a stock image of the vehicle ever. So why did you wait to do that? You should have done that maybe, you know, right away if you really knew that this person. It doesn't seem like they gathered much else about Brian from that point other than the DNA, which they asked not to be used as part of the compile for probable cause. So what else did you have then? Like, why not just immediately on November 29th put out a bolo for the white Hyundai Elantra?
Right. That's what I was saying.
I think there was some surveillance going on and they were really trying to catch, you know, something. And I don't know if it ever came into fruition, but then all of a sudden one day they were like, well, we got this DNA, and they went and arrested Ann's client.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's why I always say it was the end of December. I think the FBI came to their little tip right around Christmas. And then I think that's when MPD wanted them to go out there, collect the trash. And then it was all like, this day, that it was just hurried up and thrown. That's why there was no, you know, because they're not going to allow somebody to go from one side of the country to the other if they committed these crimes. They're going to figure out a way to stop them or hold them back. And when it comes to like having to go all the way out to PA, I think he was already there on the 16th when he made the trip from Washington to Pennsylvania, BK. And I think he was still part of a collective pool at that time of a bunch of different people, and they were probably still waiting to get the DNA results back on the other DNA results that that we don't know of. And they got the first one back, and that's what came back, and then they just grabbed it and ran with it, because if you look at the dates, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, school's starting in a week after that. Why wouldn't they have put out a 2011 to 2016 before Christmas even?
I have a theory. I have a theory. I've said it before. The Moscow, Idaho police were gun shy. That's the nicest word I can use. They were gun shy. Let him go to Pennsylvania, because the Pennsylvania State Police, I lived there first 18 years of my life. They're a serious law enforcement organization. They don't take any what from anyone. So
don't you think ISP would have? Don't you think if MPD was gun shy, don't you think ISP would have? Because they seem.
I don't know. I think that they were gun shy. I think that that's a nice way of putting it. Let him go to some other jurisdiction. They'll get him. And I don't buy the thing that they were waiting for the DNA, because it took them almost no time at all from the time they pulled the father's DNA out of the trash barrel until they got the DNA. That was almost instant.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it was
instant.
That's why I don't think they got the.
They were going to need to work in conjunction, right? So the Pennsylvania police went in and got Brian. So if it had been in Washington, the Washington police were going to go and get him, right? So I'm wondering if maybe the Washington police felt like there was not probable cause. So they waited until he got to Pennsylvania.
They needed the DNA, yeah.
And then when he got to Pennsylvania, that's when it all happened.
Yeah.
But
no DNA, no PCA.
Yeah, but because he wasn't in their state, and Washington was like, "No, thank you."
Well, what about all this? What about all this rubbish that they had the car? They had the car going over there. They there's the Linda Lane footage of the car turning around 3 times and circling. What about all that? The DNA, I think, is important, but I think it's only one brick in the wall. That's the way I see it. In a shaky wall, albeit a shaky wall, but it's only one brick in the wall.
I think the DNA is going to get torn apart the most, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be the least important when it comes to the trial. I think the video and the cast data, number 1, number 2 video, and number 3. I don't even know how they could argue the DNA in court when it comes to the type of DNA it is. And
that'll be a battle of the experts. The state will have their expert come in and explain the whole science of DNA and touch DNA and how they do it and all that rubbish. And then the defense, I mean, I don't know if you saw the motion that was filed the other day by Ann Taylor. She was filing for permission to share the IgG that she does have with 3 experts that she named. So not only 1 expert, but 3 experts. She wants to hire 3 experts, and those experts will come in. And in one of my episodes, I cited and read from a peer-reviewed report that pointed out that touch DNA is not rubbish, in my words, but is an evolving science, and it should not be used as the basis of a conviction. And I cited 2 Connecticut cases in which the judges in their decisions, the appellate court judges, wrote eloquently about touch DNA and cited all kinds of legal and medical sources pointing out that it shouldn't be the basis of a conviction.
No,
and in fact,
it's going to get tore up.
One assault case in Connecticut, serious assault case in Connecticut, was overturned in part on the grounds of touch DNA. And there were other factors that went into that case. But again, touch DNA was part of it, to the point where the appellate court judge in Connecticut went on and on and on about legally and medically why touch DNA should not be used in a serious conviction. And it's a recent case. I believe it's a 2022 case, which is about as recent as you can get for something like this. So yeah, I agree with you that the DNA is rubbish. So if that was what
we did our DNA riddle show months ago, where we dug into all the experts in a couple episodes, and I'm telling you, that's why I know they're going to tear the hell out of it.
I wish I hadn't missed that one. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I think I got a playlist up. I wouldn't mind. We
Okay.
should do an episode sometime where we do the DNA stuff. That'd be fun, man.
What did you call it? The DNA game show? Is that what you called it?
No, it was a DNA riddle questions and riddles
okay.
or something
All
like
right.
that. I'll have to look to see if I have it. AG brought up a really good point, though, Mr. Miles. They weren't gun shy with Kopaka.
Good point. That is true.
No, they were not.
Kopaka. That's
No.
that was a ridiculous one.
You are right, Mr. Viewer.
AG.
You are right about that one.
Did Kopaka happen first before? Yeah, they
Yes.
yeah,
That
it
was
happened in between his trip, in the middle of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because or more than middle of it, 2/3 of it, because it happened that morning that they were on the body cam. So, and that was the 15th.
Yep.
So
But that was
they
a
were like
different
2/3 of the way.
situation. That was a different situation.
Yeah.
That was, he was being confrontational, and there was a confrontation. Brian
I didn't hear
Koberger was.
one.
He was out in the shadows. He was, doing his thing. He was, going back and forth to work and grading papers and that kind of thing.
I didn't hear any.
I think
coming
they
out
were
of
there to
Kopaka's
serve
room.
some kind of like arrest warrant or search
Yeah.
warrant, but I don't think there was like too much chaoticism. Nothing that should have resulted in him being gone.
Mm-mm.
Well, I'll agree with that, but there was that, they were there. He was there. Koberger was at a distance, so it was a totally different situation.
However, that
Yeah.
night they requested an additional $1 million in funds for this case.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so the at 3-ish in the morning on the 15th, Kopak is killed. The next day they request an additional $1 million in funds and stop Brian twice in Indiana. And then we do know that they had to pay for the Pennsylvania State Police to go running into that house, and for their SWAT and their little FBI agents and a whole new set of people over there. So obviously I feel like they knew when they asked for that additional $1 million that they were going across the country to chase Brian.
How much did you know? You know a lot about
Interesting.
you know a lot about some of the facts in this case. How much did Pennsylvania bill them for that?
I don't know that. But I do know that they did ask for an additional $1 million, and it just so happened to be when they were going across the country.
And I wonder how much that flight cost on the Pennsylvania State Police airplane. It had to stop and refuel twice on the way from Pennsylvania to Washington. That had to cost a lot of money.
It was crappy.
I mean, I guess you can't just put him on a Delta flight, but I mean, still. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the same airplane as those guys, but I mean, that must have cost a lot of money.
At least he would have had HBO for a little bit or something.
Yeah.
No, it was just a little teeny private plane,
It was
Yeah.
the state police plane, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought I saw the state police insignia on it.
Money flows over here like crazy here in Moscow that we're driving through. Money just flows everywhere, man. Who knows? It's so... I don't know. When do you guys think the trial's realistically going to take place? I'm thinking early 2025. And
I'm thinking summer of 2025.
yeah,
Well, there's all this
because
hogwash
she's
about,
nervous about saying summer of 2025.
well, there's all this hogwash about how we can't have the trial during the school year because there's a high school across. I've never heard
You think
an
it's going to
argument
get
like
moved?
that.
You think it's going to get moved? He made the argument that it should be moved because if you think, do you think the trial? How long do you think the trial is going to last?
Who
Realistically,
knows?
12.
I mean, the prosecution says 6 weeks. Ann Taylor now said 12 to 14 weeks. Really? Come on.
You think? I mean, think about the testimony when it comes to just the DNA. I could see that taking a whole week alone, right?
Well, the Murdoch trial was 6 weeks, and they had a ton of experts. They had 72 witnesses on the stand, 72 witnesses, and for a whole week they talked about nothing but those financial crimes that Murdoch had. I won't say allegedly committed because he's now pled guilty to them. But for a whole week we heard about the financial stuff. So, Yeah, no, I don't believe the 400 witnesses thing.
No?
I think there were 400 people that she had to talk to, and they'll whinny it down because there's a concept in the law called the 100 bishops rule or the cumulative evidence rule. If you have 100 bishops and they're all going to say the same thing, the court is only going to allow one of them to testify. It's called cumulative evidence or the 100 bishops rule. So no, there will not be 400 witnesses in this case, and I would bet good money on that.
Interesting. What is
There's
it?
no
called?
way.
100 bishop?
It's called cumulative evidence. You can't put witness after witness after witness to say the same thing. Now, having said that, if Ann Taylor has 3 experts who all approach this touch DNA in a different way, and we all know that medical science can, forensic, you know this better than we do, for medical and forensic evidence can be extremely complicated. So if she has 3 different experts that are all going to approach it from different angles, allowed. But if they're going to have 100 witnesses all say the same thing, the court will not allow it. It's called cumulative evidence, or in the vernacular, the 100 bishops rule.
Or in other words, you can't beat a dead horse. But what she is doing is exactly that. For her DNA, she does have 3 different people working on it. One is working on basically the way that the DNA should have been attained and like the protocols and stuff like that as far as the transferring and the testing. Another is working on how the tree was supposed to be built. And then there's another working on, I believe, the things that can go wrong with the databases, like the misuse and abuse of the databases. So they all tie into the IgG, but they're all speaking on different things about the DNA and the IgG and stuff like that. So
okay, so there's 3 witnesses, but there's not 400 witnesses.
Nope.
I don't believe. No, I don't believe
and
that.
I have questions about 100 mitigating witnesses as well, because I don't even know that sounds decent to say that there's something wrong with me to such great extent that 100 people can attest to it. That's insane. And then the idea that, just putting it into real perspective, that any one of us, any of us feel like there's 100 people who can attest to like anything about like anything? I mean, anything. No. So
I'd be lucky to find 2 or 3.
Exactly. And I mean, as far as years and years ago, like I could be an entirely different person right now, just like everyone else. So I don't really feel like those people count. I don't feel like we should be going back that far to bring people into court. Not for this. So.
No, I mean, I could see a dozen witnesses. I can't see 100 witnesses. I think she was puffing. I really do. I think she was puffing, but she has to do a thorough job. I mean, if I was defending, I've done some criminal defense. I've never done a capital murder case, but if I had a client that was potentially going up against the firing squad, you better be sure that I'm going to, do scorched earth defense. And I mean, I don't care if Bill Thompson was offended that Logston said, they're trying to kill my client. Did you catch that at the hearing? They're trying to kill my client. And Bill Thompson, it ruffled his feathers. Oh, we're only enforcing what the legislature wanted. Well, yes, you are trying to kill him. It's a capital murder case.
Because that's exactly what the legislature would want. That's exactly what they would want you to do.
Right. Not only that, in the middle of all of this, because they can't buy the chemicals to do do it the other way. Now they passed legislation to allow a firing squad. Really? Yeah, you better believe I'll bring 200 witnesses. Now, realistically, I'm just saying I'll do scorched earth. I'll go to the ends of the earth. But forensic, I agree with you. There's not going to be 100 witnesses. There's just not.
No way.
So do you think it's going to be 12 weeks then? Do you think she's just overblown? Because that's what the change of venue is going to hinge on, is how long this trial is really going to last. Because what if it does go long? You're already cutting into the start of the new year for university and the high schools and all the other schools.
I think the judge would be wise to grant the change of venue so that it doesn't have to be based on those things.
Right.
So that at any point that It really
Just the
needs to,
summer.
yeah.
But if you read into the change of venue motion that was filed the other day, and I'm not prepared to do a screen share, but if you read into it really carefully, they're not asking to move it to another jurisdiction. They're looking
asking
to have
bring in an
another
outside
jury pool. Right. So it's not a change of venue in terms of going to another court. It's a change of venue, bringing in jurors from another area. That's what it is.
But consider the fact that you would be asking those jurors to come in for 12 to 15 weeks if that's how long it takes for Ann to actually present her case.
Yeah.
And therefore,
Crazy.
I don't think that's
Crazy.
So I think it would just be better to move the venue.
I agree, but that's not what they're asking. I agree with you.
Possibly even just get out. I mean, if you want, just get some outside jurors. I don't know. But it's just, I think they should just move the venue, because basing this off of space and hotel rooms and high schools and elementary schools and their infrastructure is insane after basing the entirety of the investigation on their university and their infrastructure. That's insane. We have to stop that. So
I've never heard of that, and I've never heard of that in a pretrial memorandum. Oh, we can't have the trial tomorrow because or next week because of the high school. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that, and I've done tons of trials. If that's a problem, and when they brought up venue in the hearing, Thompson changed the subject and said, "Well, everybody's heard of this case. I went to Mexico, and people, that wasn't the point. The point is that, as you pointed out, Forensic, that town isn't equipped to handle a trial of this nature. I mean, the high school, the events that the university has, the space. There's not enough hotel rooms. If they're going to bring in 100 witnesses and 100 experts, they've got to stay in a hotel, and they don't have them. So, change of venue for publicity, no. Change of venue for infrastructure, yes. That's why they really should. But that's not the issue that was raised. That was not the issue that was raised in the defense motion.
Not at all.
So,
no.
It makes zero sense. No, I can't see. And then the other thing that made zero sense to any rational mind was that, well, okay, then why don't we have it over one of the holiday vacations? Well, the holiday vacations aren't 12 weeks. There's no holiday vacation. Christmas vacation is, what, a couple of weeks at best, maybe 3 weeks at best.
Yeah, it's there's just no way they can handle it. I mean, when I'm here in Moscow and I'm driving around and I can barely drive down some of these streets alone just because there's no space. It's the roads are structured so weird. It's almost like it's the PCA itself when you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, sitting, looking straight down, like this road goes like this, and you have here when you're talking about the courthouse, and I have this on my footage somewhere in my folder, you're talking like just a few parking spots. It ain't nothing. And then if you want to park on the side of the street, the high school's right next to it. Maybe you could park in that parking lot. It's not very big, but if you try and park on the side street, then there's no way two cars are going to be able to go down on that side street because there's not going to be enough room. It's just going to be a complete madhouse.
You can kind of tell that just from the angles of the media when they're outside the courthouse and there's some families parading in, and the family members and stuff like that. You can see very narrow, very little place to go, and that the families are actually coming from like down the block. So they clearly had to park a little further away and walk down. So already
so from an administrative point of view, just strictly an administrative point of view, they've got to move it to a larger county with better facilities, pick the jury there, do the trial in another location where there's just more infrastructure. There's more hotels, there's more streets, there's more ability to handle the number of people, the sheer number of people that are going to be there for that trial. Plus, don't forget, and I know they don't want to think about this, but the media also. I mean, the media, even in Judge's order that encompassed throwing the cameras out. I don't know if you noticed, he had a map, and out back where he actually had the satellite trucks in a designated spot. I don't know if they have enough room in Idaho for that. So, they've got to move it.
There are 32 for the gag order thing. There were 32 media interveners. So just 32 media outlets, just cameras and, whatever. So I don't think they have this space for this at all.
No,
they really should consider moving this. It's not just a matter of bringing in a different jury. I'm not even sure where they're going to put those jurors, and they're it's going to be so inconvenient for those people for 12 to 15 weeks. That's insane. 6 weeks is bad enough, especially if you're sequestered. If you become sequestered for months like that, that's insane. That's
you can't sequester a jury for 12 weeks. They're going to go nuts.
Exactly.
They're gonna go
I was just
crazy.
going to say you're asking people to lose their minds. Yeah.
And they're gonna do the same thing the OJ jury did. They're gonna deliberate for 45 minutes and say we're out of here. Goodbye.
The glove doesn't fit, so we must acquit. Yeah,
right. And they're out of there. So after a 12-week trial, they're gonna say we've got to get out of here. Okay, guilty or not guilty, whatever. We want to get. We don't care. We're gonna get.
They
out
don't
of here.
care. No, they don't care because look at the enrollment. They're setting records now. They're setting records.
It makes little or no sense. Makes little or no sense. Now, if anybody with a rational thought process thinks that they can move the venue due to publicity, I would suggest that, I could sell them a deed to the Brooklyn Bridge because, I mean, we're all in, 3 different quarters of the United States and we're up to date on this. I just mentioned earlier a YouTuber who's over in London. Who talks about this is a worldwide publicity case. So anybody that thinks that they can change venue to get a better jury pool really needs to think again. I mean, the days of changing venue because, everybody reads the local newspaper. And if we move one town over, we'll have a whole different veneer of jurors. No, those days are long gone. People don't read newspapers anymore.
Steve G even said that he said that they're looking for juror members that are farmers that don't even know anything about the case and didn't watch the news.
Didn't have time because they were too busy working on their farms to see any of the news.
Imagine all the experts in the conversations. I mean, I'm thinking that's where the trial is really going to get drug out is because these jurors are good. I'm not a farmer and I don't even know that much. And we've watched these experts for a year, and I can't imagine the position they might have been in if they haven't even taken the time for a year to see what we've seen. And we still have a lot of questions. I can't imagine the position they're going to be put in.
But I don't know what lawyer wants a potential juror that doesn't read a newspaper, that doesn't follow news, that doesn't, engage in thought processes about important issues of public policy. I don't know if an attorney wants that. I think an attorney wants a sentient juror, someone that thinks, someone that's challenged, somebody that's kind of with it. So the standard for a fair, impartial juror is not that they have information, but that despite the information that they have, they can remain open-minded and impartial. So, I mean, with voir dire that we are allowed to do more and more, when I first started practicing law in the 2 jurisdictions that I practiced law in, we really weren't allowed to do a lot of voir dire. The judge did it, but now we're allowed to do it. I don't know what they do in Idaho, but to have a fair trial, you do voir dire the jurors and you ask them a whole bunch of questions and get to whether or not, despite information that they have, despite having read the newspaper, despite having watched Evil CJ, they still can be fair and impartial and deliver a just verdict. That's the standard, not that they have watched TV.
No. It's just I can imagine the experts getting everything drug out because you're wanting to do the right thing as a jury member,
right?
And and you want to kind of know everything, and so I would imagine that
it's an energy drink, folks. In case you thought it was something else, it's an energy drink. In case you thought I was cracking a cold one.
Oh gosh,
I've got iced tea inside of it's gone now, but I had iced tea inside of a rocks glass. I'm pretty sure they probably thought I was drinking all night as well. It was Arizona iced tea, guys.
I just got coffee.
I didn't want anybody to think that if they heard me open this, that they thought, "Oh, he's drinking a beer over there."
Yeah, he's got a tall boy.
It's an energy drink. It's not the kind I normally drink, but it's good. It's got a lot of guava in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
But it's got a lot of energy. I won't be able to sleep for a while.
Oh.
Which is good.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Oh gosh, you're gonna be wired up.
All right. Well, CJ, I actually stayed a little longer than I thought I was going to, but I do have to go, guys.
No, thank you.
Sorry. I wanted to thank you for having me. Thank you, Andrew, for your conversation with me.
Keep up the great work, please. I learn a lot from your episode.
Oh, thank you so much.
Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. And of course, I'd always love to come back. And Andrew, I did send you an email so that we can definitely do ours as well.
Okay. I'm going to get back to you on that. I promise.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a great weekend.
Appreciate you. Yes. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Thank you. So
she's very smart. She's very smart, and she does a lot of digging. She does a lot of digging. She really does.
We came across her channel a couple months ago, and ever since we came across her channel, I've just always promoted her like crazy because I think she really does. She does great work. Yeah, thank you for all the positive comments for Forensic. She does great work. She makes you think. She really does dig, and I think she does a great job.
A lot of people, I've noticed, present company excluded. A lot of people just like get the documents and they put them up on StreamYard and they read them. Blah 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 blah. GFC Smith and I, blah blah blah. But she actually she'll jump from one document to the other and compare them and kind of analyze what's behind the document. Why did it say that? Like the episode that she was talking about that we went over tonight, there was a warrant for the Reddit info on March 23rd. The Batanti affidavit was March 22nd. 2 days later, there was a notice of the Brady information. That can't be a coincidence. But who else ties all those things together?
Oh, yeah.
Who else ties it all together and thinks about it? I'm impressed. I'm an attorney, and I'm supposed to, I'm supposed to notice all these things. But my excuse is that I'm busy.
You're busy. Yeah, you're busy.
I'm still working. Well, she's studying too, so that's that. So that's a full-time job studying also. But I mean, she does a lot of good analytical, thoughtful work that a lot of people out there just a document comes out and they read it and that's an episode and it's like
no, it's true. It's the individuals that have attention to detail, and then those little things stick out. Yeah, and then you're able to just kind of piece them all together. Yeah. She does a great job. I knew when we, just like with your channel, when we came across your channel in the beginning, it's the same thing. And you guys have, everybody that we have on the show or promote always has a respectful approach, but also ask questions when questions should be asked. Right. And I think it's important. Just for even the conversations that we have here on this platform, because it's we could easily go with News Nation and things like that, but how do we progress? Is there any movement in a positive direction? And there's not. So anytime that there's channels like yours or Forensic or any of the other people that we promote, it's to it's for that energy. It's to make sure that those voices can be heard and heard as much as possible in as many different areas, because it's important to everybody.
We're not breaking news. We don't have the resources to break the news. Thank you, Detective Golden. Thank you very much for the kind words. If a new document comes out, I don't have the resources to drop everything and get on it and do it. So I've racked my brain since we've started doing these podcasts. What is it that we can add? And Lainey knows her technical stuff. She knows pop culture. She knows how people think today. We're of a different generation, and she understands how people will view things now. And I think, well, okay, I can't break the news, but what can I contribute from my background? I have a legal background, and yes, I know there are other legal podcasters out there. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. Some of them have been around a long time and gained a lot of recognition. So what is it about what I have that I can add? And, I have not only the legal background and the trial skills, but I also have a media background. So that's what I try to do, is try and think, what is it that we can do that's different What is it that we can do to stand out? And, I'll admit that we're still trying to find that perfect niche. We're still trying to find the perfect niche, but that's how I approach it. Not to just put a document up on the screen and read it and say, okay, that's what happened today. Go eat your cornflakes. Good night.
Go eat your cornflakes. Man, you had your hand in a bunch of different hats. So you were a journalist, you were part of a media, you were a criminal lawyer, you're a civil lawyer. Like
I do mostly all civil. Mostly
holy man.
I worked for a law firm when I got out of law school in Boston. And, when you work at a law firm, you do whatever they tell you to, especially if you're the low man on the totem pole, the ink's still wet on your degree. So yes, I've done criminal defense. And when I went out on my own about, 8 years after that, I did some criminal defense, but it's not really my cup of tea. It's just not my cup of tea. The civil is what I've always wanted to do. And it's a difficult dichotomy because my favorite thing to read is true crime. My favorite thing to read has always been true crime. I mean, starting with the Charles Manson and the Vincent Bugliosi book. And that was amazing. Then I found Ann Rule. Then I discovered Ann Rule and learned about her and the fact that she actually worked with Ted Bundy and knew Ted Bundy and couldn't believe the things that people said about Ted Bundy. And so I became a real fan of Ann Rule. No, I haven't read every book of hers. Maybe that's on my bucket list to do that before anything happens to me. But so I've always read true crime. It's always been a fascination for me, even before I decided to be a civil litigator. But go ahead.
Why didn't the criminal, is it because you were a criminal defense for a short period?
No, I worked at a Boston law firm where I was I was just out of law school. And when you're just out of law school and the ink is wet on your degree, you do what they tell you to do. I tried dental malpractice cases. I tried family law cases, divorces. I tried I tried a fire fraud case. I tried defense cases. I tried
so what were they cases? What were they cases that they thought they just couldn't win or something, and that's why they were given to the rookie, or what? I don't really. Exactly. Is that what it is? That exactly? It's just cases are like, we can't have that negative loss on our record. We're going to give it to rookie.
Exactly. There was a horrible case. There was a horrible dental malpractice case. It was a terrible dental. They're terrible cases. They're horrible cases because everybody has a bad experience with a dentist. Everyone has a bad experience with a dentist. But the standard for bringing a medical malpractice claim is very, 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 very high, and there's no recovery for a bad medical result. It has to meet 3 elements to prove that the healthcare provider provided healthcare that fell below the average standard of care, and that below standard of care caused harm. So that's a lot of money in terms of experts. And you're talking about a dental case, which isn't worth much. So we were up against, here I had just been out of law school for about a year, and I was up against a guy that was at a defense firm, which will go unnamed, but that's all they do. They have offices in Los Angeles, Boston, New York, London. And the guy I was up against, that's all he did was medical malpractice cases. That's all he did. And I'd never done one ever in my life. It's like, we give our opening arguments, and I'm very stiff and analytical and just going through the facts. And he's got this southern drawl, like all the attorneys in the Murdoch case, and the jury's just like captivated and they love him. And I thought I lost this case.
Oh yeah,
he personally identified with the jurors, and they were captivated. Long story short, I won the case. To everyone's amazement, I won the case because I kind of tried it backwards, which is another whole story. But so I beat that. I had a lot of other cases that were just sure losers that we somehow pulled a rabbit out of our hat. And I finally said, I've had enough of their rabbits. I want my own rabbits. And so
nice.
I went out on my own about 8 years after I went out of law school, and I haven't looked back. I have never looked back because now I can pretty much do, the cases that I want, and I can be more selective about my cases. But so
was that a scary jump for you when you went out on your own? Like, really
yes and
nervous?
no. Yeah. I had done a lot. I had a business plan when I was in law school. My roommate was actually a Harvard Business School student, and I think I learned more from him than I learned in law school, because the Harvard Business School is a tough school. It's very analytical. They have a plan. They have a formula, and so. Having known this guy, my roommate, I did a lot of business planning. I did a lot of business interviewing with other attorneys, and so I hit the ground with my feet running. In today's legal world, you don't just hang a shingle up like my grandfather did in New York City. You don't just hang a shingle up and wait for the business to come knocking on your door, because you're going to be bagging groceries at Walmart pretty soon. So I had a business plan. I followed it, and I was a little bit worried, but things started going my way pretty quickly. So I never looked back. I never looked back. It's just,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, the firm life wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
One day I walked in on a Casual Friday with blue jeans, and they said, "Oh no, we know it's Casual Friday, but you can't wear blue jeans." Like, what? I didn't know that. Where are these rules written?
Hell yeah.
I don't mean to make light of it, but there are a lot of good guys at some of the firms, but I'm not one of them.
That's funny.
So I don't know.
That's crazy. So what'd you do? Like, because what year was that when you went out on your own first?
Oh, God, you don't want to know.
No? What'd you have to do? Go door to door, or did you put ads in the phone book or the newspaper, or or is it just kind of you did a couple and it was a word of mouth?
You network. It's a long story short. My business plan will put all your viewers asleep. It'll put all your viewers. It's basically networking. It's just networking, getting to know a lot of people. I mean, you network. You get to know a lot of people that'll take your, cases that are things you don't want to handle, and then you'll take their cases that they don't want to handle. And I met some great attorneys who were willing to work with me and let me work on some of their cases. And I was in a community where I got to know people fairly quickly, and it's more networking. Yeah, I'm so old that, yes, I put ads in the Yellow Pages. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Do you remember Yellow Pages?
Yeah. Did you put it under A1 attorney or what?
No.
It showed up at the top?
No, I bit the bullet, and I took out full page ads in the Yellow Pages. But
full page, damn.
But they quickly went down the tubes as an effective means of advertising. And every year I would tell them, you guys come in here and you want more money. Every year you want more money, but every year I track this stuff. I'm not like a lot of other attorneys. I actually track what comes in and how it comes in. And you want more money every year, but I'm getting less business out of you. So they would leave. Then they would come back with two salesmen with their, Brooks Brothers suits and, their laptops, and try and strong arm me. And I'm like, listen, guy, you're not listening to me. You're just not listening to me. So I'm going to cut what I spend. I'm going to cut it down to a half a page. And they would insult me. And I said, is that any way to try and sell your business?
Are you serious?
Oh, they would insult me. They were, well, Mr. Myers, if you were serious about your business, and they would show me last year's Yellow Page and say, look at all these lawyers that have the ads in the Yellow. Look at you don't want to be up with them. And I said, no. So then one time they triple teamed me, and they said they brought a guy in from New York. So that was the last time. I went down to like $1. They call it a $1 ad because it's an ad the size of a $1 bill. And so, the results from that were obvious. And so then I was one of the first guys to have a website. I've had a website since 1997 or 8. I don't remember.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yes, that's really how I got it. That's how I got my domain is attorney-Myers, Myers.
Wow.
And I've had other attorneys call me and say, can we have that? No. When I retire, they can have it. But yeah, I've had a website. I met a guy who's now in a different business in California, but I met a guy who, put my first website together, and it was pretty awful. But it was a website, and the bar associations were horrified. They were like, "Oh, we don't think attorneys should be on the web. We don't think attorneys should really be doing this. This is, the web is for pornographers and gamblers," which is true, right? It's true.
Oh shit.
So yeah, shortly after that, they kind of changed their mind because all the big guys started having websites, and so they changed the rules a little bit. So, but it's still mostly word of mouth. It's still mostly networking and word of mouth, and I try to do some civic stuff, and I've been doing it long enough now that most of my business comes from repeats and referrals. So that's kind of like what I do now. So I don't know how why are you asking me all these questions?
I don't know. I'm just curious. How much longer do you plan on doing it? Like, do you have a plan for like
as long as I can, like maybe another 10 years. I don't know. As long as I can, as long as I have good health. I mean, I had a little bout with prostate cancer, but I did everything that the doctors told me to do, and I feel great now. So, I think my health is good. So as long as I can, it's not like I'm digging ditches or anything like that, so right. I don't have to retire. If I was, climbing utility poles or, working in a coal mine, I would retire. But I don't really feel the need to. I really, cool. I really don't feel the need to.
Whatever, it's whatever until nice. That's awesome, man. On your own terms,
Yeah. Plus, I found the podcasting thing is challenging. It's challenging. I'm glad I have Lainey Law to help me because she's been a big help.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I would have quit if it wasn't for her. I would have quit. And she knows I was this close. I was this close to throwing in the towel a couple of times. Well, don't you find it discouraging sometimes when you look at the numbers, unless you're talking about certain cases, which we won't mention? Don't you find it discouraging that sometimes you get like 100 viewers or 200 viewers and you put a lot of work into it. And like today, this morning, I dropped an episode on Kohberger, and I try to be objective. I mean, I know there's people out there that, he's guilty, throw him away. They've got his DNA. And there's other people on the other end of the spectrum. He's being framed. They the police framed him and they didn't know what they were doing. And they're all putzes. And, I try to maintain kind of in the middle. I honestly and really do believe in the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And so the episode that I dropped today took both sides and looked at three different ways you can look at Kohberger and the case. And I asked my viewers to please decide whether it was A, B, or C. Then I looked at the court rules on circumstantial evidence and discovery in Idaho. And so I try to play it right in the middle. Oh my gosh, that was only this morning. And I can't believe the angry and nasty comments. I only deleted 2 of them. I thought I'd let the rest of them out there. If they go after me personally, delete. But and why are people so nasty? You could disagree with me. That's fine.
And everybody's an expert on everything too. You know what I mean? There's even like, I like to make fun of it. Like there's people that'll like, come in and, hey, this happened, this. And it's like, yeah, I know. And then this grandmother, her son door dashes and she's an expert on door dashes. And, it's just it. Yeah. But, it's the yin and the yang, man. There's, that's their enjoyment in life is, leaving comments like that where they just, it's whatever's in their soul, Yeah,
you're right.
Don't let it discourage you. Yeah, people are just.
I forget what it was today. One of the comments, there actually was one about DoorDash, and the person there actually was a comment about DoorDash, and the person was actually an expert at DoorDash, and so they were telling me, right? And I forget what the other one was, but you're right. Somebody was an expert at something, and I just it doesn't come to mind right now, but somebody was an expert about something.
Yeah, it's like It's like I DoorDash. I think I know how DoorDash works when I use it myself. I don't need to rely on somebody else's son to tell me how DoorDash works. But yeah, man, like you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you.
when it-
No matter what you do or say,
people,
someone's not gonna be happy. You go to court. You go to court, and only one side can win. You know what I mean? Only one side can win. I was on the zoning board in my town for a number of years, and Andrew, I didn't see that. So I was in the zoning board, and people come before you with their variances and special exceptions and all that good kind of stuff. But going in that half of the people that leave that room are going to leave angry at you because you can only vote yes or no. You can only grant or not grant. And so the people that want what you can give them, if they get what they came there to get, they're happy. But the abutters who didn't want it, they're unhappy. So no matter what you do, you're gonna make enemies. So you just have to kind of put on the shutters and focus on what it is you're doing and do what you think is right and do what you think you can.
You keep doing what you feel is right, and that's all that matters. Because whatever cornflakes they eat, it's not in your intestinal tract, sir. So whatever cornflakes they eat, it doesn't matter. Let them have the stomach ache. But no, you guys do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
When it comes to them, like there's always people out there that are going to be like that. That's why, when I go to other shows, there's people like, yeah, CJ blocked me, CJ. And it's like, yeah, I blocked you for a reason, because I'm not that YouTuber out there that's going to allow you to affect the rest of the community that I worked my ass off to make sure that this is what the community is and is for other people that are about the peace and positivity and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll come across shit like that, and I'll just if you're going to be disrespectful to me or anybody in chat, that's automatic, no questions asked. I don't mind an honest disagreement because it keeps us all honest. It keeps us all honest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not working at behind closed doors and with a shade on our head. We're out there in the public, everything we do, and so people aren't always going to agree. So if people have a good faith disagreement with me, that's fine. That's okay. But you don't have to personalize it. You don't have to be nasty. You can't say, Mr. Myers, what kind of a lawyer are you if you think fill in the blank? I mean, and I get that all the time. What kind of a lawyer are you? Yeah. Whatever. Obviously, what? Huh? Go ahead. Did you ever see this podcaster? And I don't know. I've never met her. I don't know her from Adam, but her name is Christina. And she just talks like a normal person, but she's very smart. And she talks about all these cases, but she starts out every podcast by saying, be nice, be polite, be respectful. When you go down in the comments, please, let's all be respectful people. And I love her. I think she's great. I think she does a really good show. Maybe that's what you have to start it off with, like, a little, wear like a heart sweater or something and just ask people to be respectful in the comments section. Really? Just, maybe, yeah, maybe that's something you should do. Yeah. Come on. People should already know that. You know what I mean? We're not wearing diapers, people. We're not wearing diapers right now. Like, everybody should know to be respectful. But we live in an era where people are like, keyboard warriors. They're down in their mommy's basement, and just like they can say anything they want. I mean, I have a whole theory about that, and you don't want me to get into it. But like, when I was growing up, my parents were very involved in church, in Boy Scouts, in JCs, in Rotary, and they were ward clerks at the voting place. They were on. They're just very involved, and we knew everybody. We actually knew everybody on our block, and it was a community, and so, you dare not, be silly or crazy or whatever, because, everybody knew you and you knew everybody. And it's just, nowadays, nobody knows anybody. Everybody just is in their little cocoon. Yeah. So they feel more, they feel no reservation about saying anything.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no controls. There's no controls on people just expressing stupidity.
That's why I make T-shirts. Because when I first started the YouTube show, it would affect me, and so then what I started doing was I just started coming up with because I would have these responses to the trolls, and then I actually don't mind it. They can come in here and be trollish, and I'll make a T-shirt out of it. It helps. It helps me come up with clothing. All of my 12 T-shirts that I'm gonna is all made off of trollish people coming in. So it's taken that negative energy, even if it's like threats beyond the show that people don't even know about, or things like that. It's taken that negative energy, flipping it to a positive, finding a way to make it positive, and then it just never affects you at that point.
Well, I respect you, because I
just don't give a fuck.
I don't have the guts to do a live. I mean, back when I really didn't know what the hell I was doing in terms of podcasting, I told Lainey, let's do a live. And she's like, she's cutting out. Well, we have to get a little bit further into this. Let's do a live. Well, yeah, let's just wait until we get a little further into it. So she held me back. Now the roles are reversed. Now I see how difficult it is and how hard it is. And I see some people doing a live and they get hardly anybody watching them. So now she's like, come on, it's time to do a live. We're going to do a live. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do a live.
I prefer it.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do all the work that's required to do this and then have two people watch it. That's my fear.
That's how I started. When I first started, I think I had maybe like 4 or 5 people watching consistently for maybe the first. I would say the first month of the show, it was 5 to 12 people.
Oh my gosh!
And that was it for a while. But it's about the goal at the end of the road. Like this right here, where I'm at, isn't even where my goal was way back when I first started this show. Like I have way bigger dreams and plans of what this is going to become than where it even is today. So that keeping that goal for me is and what I can provide for the community when it comes to peace, positive, and progress, the things that help me get out of a dark place, allows other people to get out of the dark place just by existing in this community. And so therefore it's that, and the goal that I have to make that even a bigger force in the future is just, like people don't even understand. I literally get like 4 hours of sleep. And that's it. Because I get up and I'm at my desk because it's the goal.
Wow.
I wake up and I haven't sat on my couch for I don't know how long. As soon as I wake up, I'm at my desk doing work until I'm going to bed. And it's just about, I know, because ever since I started, I know 1 minute that I take off, and I do take I got some extra sleep yesterday when they were working on the house or apartment next door. Got some extra sleep because I missed out on a whole week or whatever. But it's just, if I feel like if I take a minute off, then that's another minute that I gotta wait in the future for my goal.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm not trying to wait for it. I'm trying to get there as soon as possible. And so I just do all the work because what else am I going to do with, I'm going to sit and watch a movie about something that doesn't even exist when I could be focusing on spreading peace and positive energy and asking questions that people should be asking for somebody else's, comfort or justice or whatever. Because I could be talking about sports, but I don't know. I would feel guilty if I wasn't talking about some case or some loved one that something's not going right, and why not?
Yeah, I wish I had the time to travel I know there's a YouTuber who will remain unnamed, I guess, who travels. He'll go to Texas and do the border, and he'll go to Georgia to do a trial, and he'll go to Pennsylvania when Danilo Cavalcante is running around. I wish I had the time to do that. I would love to go out.
Money.
I would love to, and the money. Yeah. Oh, goes without saying.
Shit.
It takes money to go out to Moscow, Idaho, or to Pullman, Washington, but I would love to go out there and work this story around the edges. I really would. I wish I had time to go out there and go to a couple of bars. And, I mean, didn't you say earlier in this live that the people on the street know what happened and what's going on? Didn't you say that?
No.
Somebody
What I'm saying is the street talks. The street knows.
Well, I'd like to go
even
out
though
there. I'd like to go out there and talk and find out.
It'd be hard though. Even with me, I dressed like the students. I mean, hell, people think that I'm in my mid-20s, No, for real.
I don't think I could do that.
They shit when I tell them how old I am. They're like, "What? Huh? No, you quit. Fuck. No." I mean, people really think I'm like mid-20s, 30s or whatever. So when I was out there, even they were considering all the way that the other YouTubers got treated out there, considering how I got treated. It would be very hard, when it comes to like when I was talking to them and how comfortable they were with me, considering everybody else. I don't even know how anybody would feel comfortable to talk to anybody about the truth, because those small communities, man, people, as soon as somebody says something, somebody else already knows that somebody said something, and then it just gets spread like wildfire. And next thing you know, you're singled out, and you don't want to be singled out in a small community.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that I'm speechless to say that I think that the journalists just aren't doing their job out there. I mean, I can read the Spokesman review, and it's just all pro police. The police are doing this, the police are doing that, and then the other newspaper out there is the Statesman, and it's the same thing. And I don't think anybody's really trying to work the story around the edges and get to the bottom of it. I mean, have you followed the Karen Reed case in Massachusetts? The woman who is alleged to have killed her boyfriend by backing into him with her van.
I did a show on that a couple times a while back. I don't know too much about it, but I know that I don't know how they came to where they came to with that security footage.
Well, I've heard some things about it from some people on the street.
Yeah.
I can't say it on here. I can't. Yeah. I'm a member of the bar. All right.
The street knows.
I was about ready to go down to Canton and Dedham, where the court is, and talk to people and get the story. And then some of the story came to me. And so I know a few things that, you haven't read in the newspapers, but as a member of the bar in Massachusetts, I don't want to get disbarred by saying any of it. So I am keeping all that stuff to myself. And I see somebody has done tons of vids on Karen Reed. I know the FBI is looking into it, but the FBI in Boston has a history of corruption, so who knows if they'll ever get to the bottom of it. But that and the Harmony Montgomery case in Manchester, New Hampshire, I've actually talked to some people that know some of the people that are involved in that. So what I'm saying is that I hear things without even trying. If I was in Moscow, Idaho, or Pullman, Washington, or going back and forth, I think you and I could work as a team and we would get to the bottom of it. I really do. I don't think that the people that are in the journalism business out there really are doing their job. Either that or they're afraid to do their job. And
I think that's what it is. I think they're afraid.
I think I mentioned my thoughts about Eric Allen, the podcaster down in South Carolina.
He's awesome.
Isn't he awesome?
He is amazing. He is especially because I ran into him when I was doing the
you did?
the Steven, well, not personally, but into his channel when I was covering this Stephen Smith case, and yeah, he's awesome.
He does an incredible job. He really does a fan.
Yeah.
I think that his documentaries are better than the ones I've seen
Yeah.
on the. I won't mention the names of the channels because I like some of them, but I think his documentaries are better than the ones I've seen in the mainstream media because he knows the area. He was born and raised there. He goes out on his boat and shows us, you know, where the boat crash happened and how it happened and why it shouldn't have happened. Which, you know, there's more to it than the obvious. And it's just sad that there's not somebody like that out in Idaho that's, you know, kind of trying to get to the bottom of it and not afraid to report the truth. I mean, I wish I was, you know, a few years younger and I could do that. It's not going to happen right now, I don't think.
Yeah, he does amazing.
Yes, he does.
Like the way that even the presentation is just crazy. Yeah, it's like watching a program on PBS or something, with the way that he presents it. Yeah, he's got to be so busy with, you know, I can't imagine with the way his production is for these documentaries. I mean, man, it's got to take a long time.
Well, the difference between him and the mainstream media is that they have a huge money invested. When they go on site to do a Coburg or to do a Murdoch or to do something like that, and when they go there, they've got huge tractor trailer trucks full of equipment, cameras, dollies, tracks for the cameras to run up and down on, lights, you know, production boards, sound boards, everything else. No, I haven't looked into the Ellen Greenberg case, but I'll take a look. So they have a money investment. So they go in and out. It's a hit or miss. They go in and they have to get on to the next one tomorrow. They have to move along. Whereas, Eric, he's there. He lives there, and he does it pretty much by himself. I guess he's gotten to the point now where he has a couple of people that help him, but it's just him. So he can work on his own schedule. You know, he has time to go out to Moselle and walk around. He has time to get in his boat and go up and down the river. He has time to talk to people, but he takes the time. He takes the time to do it. So that's the difference. And, I think his quality is great. I mean, he has a drone that flies around and takes great footage.
It's got to be, that thing's got to be like $3,000 or something, the way he gets his drone.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Because, man, that thing, I can't imagine.
Looked at drones, and the good ones are a lot more than that. I hate to tell you. The good ones are a lot more than that, with the good quality cameras that have a good range on them. Yeah. So, but just the amount of time and effort that he puts into it is amazing, and most of the rest of the people here don't have time to do that. And the mainstream media, they have such a money investment when they go on location that they can't stay there very long. So they've got to hope that their field people that went in advance and lined everything up, they've got to hope that they did a good job, because if they didn't, it sucks. And a lot of what they do does suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody asked, let me see. They said, where was it at?
Looked at the Ellen Greenberg case.
Yeah.
No, I don't know anything about it. Do you? I'll write it down and look into it.
Somebody wanted me to check it out sometime. I think it was last fall. But no, I never checked it out too much. I have some stuff on it where I could do a show, but I haven't really necessarily checked into the actual case itself.
It's a Pennsylvania case, is it?
I don't know. Yeah, PA.
Now, you were going to talk earlier tonight about the Kansas 3. I know nothing, but just from office talk yesterday, and then when you said that, I just read one newspaper article on it really quickly, but that's a crazy case. That is a really crazy case. So some other time you can do that one, because it'll take longer.
Oh, it's all good. No, it's it's just it's going to be like Idaho4, man. I don't know. It's just, there's so much sketchy stuff involved with that one, but it was just one of those things where it's like, hey, You should check it out. You should do a show. You could do your 5 questions on that. If you ever check that one out, it's pretty sketchy.
Is the story basically that the guy was a mad scientist and that he liked to concoct things, and he just concocted things for these football buddy guys to drink, and they didn't realize that it had fentanyl in it, and it had THC in it, and it had what was the other thing it had in it? Cocaine.
They don't know. They don't know, but there's one story from a cousin that said those words. Yeah.
Well, no, the toxicology report just came out, and apparently it did have fentanyl.
Yeah, but we don't know if we don't know if Jordan was the one that concocted it or.
Well, wasn't he like a mad scientist? He's
an HIV researcher and a scientist that creates programs on a computer to help find unique characteristics in the HIV strains so they can differentiate those from others and then try and train them.
But that was his day job, and at night he kind of
according to one cousin, everybody else isn't saying anything.
Okay.
They're too busy. They were too busy.
Well, so how does it I've never had friends come over to watch a football game and they end up dead in the backyard. I've never had that experience. They usually go home on their own, 2 feet. Yeah. So something happened. That's just, that's odd.
Yeah, something definitely happened. But I don't know. The dude went to rehab right away. Yeah. His lawyer came out, made one statement, and then it was a different, and then a different, and then he's like, no, y'all are getting confused. It's it was. I don't know.
All right, so I don't want to comment about it too much more because I don't have any knowledge about it above a conversation in my office and then reading the New York Post. So I should really do some real research, I suppose, is what you're telling me.
Just check it out sometime, and you'll see. Yeah, you'll see. It's definitely really, really sketch. Sure.
All right.
But all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end it, man. I want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out. And sorry
CJ.
about earlier.
That's okay. We'll do it another time. Okay. Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Peace out.
Thank you for peace. Love that light too, man. That's so
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you, Forensic Frenzy. I appreciate you for hopping up. Thank you, Commercial Zone Kid Kitty, for trying it out tonight. And we'll get that one scheduled and we'll get it on another night. But thank you all so much. Thank you for hanging on a little extra longer, Andrew. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. OJ 25 members only, and we'll have True Crime tomorrow night. See y'all tomorrow.
Have a good one.
847 Fulton. 47